All right, today what I want to do is take a look at something that I consider a lot of fun, and that is going to be specialty macro lenses, and more importantly, Macro CINE lenses. This is kind of a new thing that's kind of come up in the market. It used to be that if you wanted to get kind of macro imagery on a cinema lens, you had to use a diopter, and that added all kinds of issues to the thing. But in the last couple of years, we've started to get some really cool dedicated cinema macro lenses. And there's a lot of reasons why you're gonna wanna get into this, and I'll talk that in a minute. Oh, hey, and do me one favor, if you find this video useful in any way, shape, or form, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button down there. It is so hard to keep a YouTube channel going these days, and your subscriptions are the only thing that keeps this thing going. But today what I wanna do is I wanna take a look at these. These are the DZOFILM GNOSIS Lenses, and these things are dedicated macro cine lenses. And spoiler alert right now, these things are incredibly impressive with an absolutely mind-boggling macro ability. Let's go ahead and take a look at them and see if this could be something that's right for you if you need this kind of thing in your workflow. Oh, hey, and one note about using these lenses. I did reach out to DZOFILM. I was doing a project that I knew I needed some macro stuff and asked them if they would be interested in letting me check them out. And DZOFILM, much to their credit, was kind enough to send me a kit just to check out. Now, they're not seeing anything that I'm doing. They don't get to review anything, and I have to return all of this when I'm done. But just want to let you know how I got these lenses in the first place. Now, just so you know, DZOFILM actually makes 3 GNOSIS lenses that all have these macro ability. They make a 32mm, a 65, and a 90mm macro lens. They all have very impressive minimum focusing distances. And right off the bat, when I say these are macro lenses, these are true macro lenses, cinema or not. The 32mm gets you a 1:1 aspect, magnification aspect. The 65 gets you a 1 to 1.3, so you get a 30% larger aspect ratio. And the 90 has a 1.5 times magnification. That means there's a 50% increase over the actual size of your items. This makes it absolutely incredible for any kind of product or close nature for like cinematography. You can really get in there and pull out details that are just straight up impossible with normal lenses. And when I say that the depth of field of these things is shallow, I mean, this 32mm, you can actually, just to give you an idea of just how shallow you can get, you can almost get the subject touching the glass to focus. That means if you have a matte box, this will focus on the back side of the matte box by the lens. Unbelievably macro capacity to have that in the lens. But I want to show you just how close I can get with this lens, because it's the only way to see it is to actually do it. I'm going to go ahead and put this all the way to the side. And I've never done anything like this on my channel before, but let's just go ahead and see. So I'm going to go ahead. I keep pulling. Look at that. You can actually see I am literally touching the tripod. And if I come from the side here, I'm going to try and come on this little front element here. I'm going to literally touch it against it. And look at that. I can still focus in there. Man, that is as tight as it gets. And if I come literally pushing against the front, I'm going to see if I can get this little front element. Look at that. I can get that front area completely in sharp. Let me see if I can find an area here to show this even more. I'm gonna come down here to this bottom area. You can see my lenses here, tapped up against it. And look at that. Even pushing up against it, I can absolutely, let me get this a little more interesting so it's not quite so blown out by the light. But look at that. I'm literally pushed up against it, and I'm focusing, and I can still come even closer. And just in case you're wondering what the difference in that, you saw how close I could get with the minimum focusing here. If I go back to a different lens, I'm gonna go ahead and throw on my 90mm, because that has the furthest of all the macro lenses. It still gets you incredibly clear. So let me go ahead and put that on here just so you can see it. I'm gonna hit record right here. And let's see right here, I'm gonna open up my thing. And as you can see, I will show you the minimum focus distance, which is right about here, I think. You can see just how close I am. I'm gonna go right to the side so you can see exactly how close I can get here. Let's see, get this thing in. Okay. And now that right there is about the minimum focus distance. And you can see just how incredibly close I am. This is a 90mm lens, and look at that. I am only this far right here from it. So that is a tiny bit of distance to get a 90mm macro lens. So I think the real question here is, what would you ever need a set of specialty lenses like this for in the first place? I mean, what kind of purpose do they serve? And I think when you're thinking about this, these really serve two major purposes. The first is just, I would think, as a narrative tool for commercial work or even film work, let's be honest. I mean, these lenses truly capture a perspective that most other lenses just physically can never achieve. And this can be very, very critically important when you're trying to fulfill certain creative needs. Like if you really need to get into a character's state of mind, maybe there's something that's really irritating them. Maybe you just need great commercial work of jewelry or watches and other things like that. These things let you get into the work and really see the beauty of it and the narrative point of those works. And I think as a creative storytelling tool, that's where these macro specialties really, really come in with. And if you have commercial work, this lets you showcase your client's product in a way that most people are not going to be able to step on set and capture. The other area that I do think does have a significant advantage is if you are someone who is more of a nature storyteller. What's great about this lets you really find things in nature, insects, details on plants, and other things like that that help to enhance whatever story you're telling based on a nature-based thing. So I really think these are specialty lenses, but they're important and really serve as a paintbrush to unlock what your creative needs are on any set. And as I said earlier, one of the great aspects about this is they're not just macro lenses, because you can get those in a lot of photo lenses. These are actually true cinema lenses too. That means you get all the benefits of having a cinema lens. One, you get these very extremely smooth focus gears for putting on all these kind of different rigs, a standard kind of focus ring size, and you get this really, really nice 300-degree focus throw that makes it incredibly easy to get those precision millimeter details when you're doing the focus. And because it's a cinema lens, this has the wonderful contrast, the character, and the continuity and consistency between the lenses when you're switching them out. Things you would expect from a cinema lens, but it's dedicated to that macro market. Now, one thing you do need to understand about these lenses is because these are macro lenses, they have an extremely sensitive throw. Like I said, it's a 300-degree throw, but the big thing is 90% of the throw is under about 3 feet, under about a meter or so. That means what's good about these lenses is you can focus to infinity, which is a nice tool to have in a macro lens, but most of this is designed for close-up work. But what that means is you can take a lens, especially I found for this 32, it was really useful. I could take this and use it for macro photography, but if I wanted to, and I had a scene that wasn't too dynamic and too much movement, I can actually still use this as a more traditional lens in a scene. Now, there's a couple caveats to that. The subject can't be moving that much, and I don't need to have too much dynamic focus, but if it's kind of a more standard, kind of simple scene, like maybe someone talking at a table, this actually worked great as a second or third lens if I needed to have it on there to give me coverage. So for instance, I was shooting a feature film, I had a 35mm lens on my A camera, and I really wanted to match it. So I put this 32 on there. I knew two characters were rather stationary, and this worked great, gave me all the character and quality I'd want from a classic cinema lens, and I was able to get away with it. The other benefit about this is because these are DZOFILM Cine lenses, they come with one of the great aspects that I think of most DZOFILM Cine lenses, and that is the fact they have switchable mounts. So you can see right here, I have a PL mount here on my 90, but I have an EF mount here on my 32. And what's great about that, I didn't have to get two different kits. They come in the box with different mounting options. It's not hard to pop off the mount and switch between a PL and an EF depending on your workflow. I find this one of the really, really nice things about having DZOFILM lenses in general, because this essentially lets me not have to choose. I can have a lens that will grow with my kit and cameras and rental gear, you name it. The lenses go with me. So I find this really, really nice. The other really nice thing about these lenses, if you order them, they come with a great carrying case that has both the EF and the PL bayonets, depending what you need to do. And even if you buy just one of these lenses, they all come with a case. So it's just nice having that protection for this investment, because these things are expensive. They're about $5,000 a pop. which isn't really crazy for cinema lenses, but you need to be aware it is a significant investment. It's nice that it comes with a case to protect what you got. And of course, the other nice thing is if you are using lenses like this, they do come with these support mounts, which is gonna be very, very important when you have cinema lenses like that to let you go in there. Now, as I did mention, these lenses are fast. They are a T28 up to a T22, and that gives you a full range of light to let in there. But in all reality, you can see the depth of field on these is so extremely shallow. You're probably going to be shooting this more at, say, a 5.6 or maybe a 4, just so you have a little more depth of field in those extreme macro depth. Now, having gotten a chance to really use these lenses for the last few weeks, I gotta say I've been very impressed with what I could get out of these lenses and just the perspective they open up for me, honestly. That being said, there are a couple things I think you should be aware of if you're in a situation where you are going to be using any kind of specialty lenses, in this case, macro lenses. Now, the first one is, this is really a tool that I really think is best to have a focus puller in your camp. Now, I was able to do some smaller, like put it on a Canon R5C, and I could pull focus myself, but this 300 degrees throw is so sensitive that really to get the most out of the lens, you're going to need someone dedicated to the focus of what you're getting. You need to worry about the composition because you're gonna get such unique compositions because of how close you can get to things, but the focus is going to be tricky because we're talking fractions of a millimeter here. You want someone on a separate screen helping you work out for that. The second thing that I think you should be aware of when you're doing this is you need to be really careful how you light your subjects, because you can literally get so close to your subject with this. I mean, you can literally touch it with this 32 and get within a few inches of it with the 65 and the 90, that the lens itself can actually block the light, which is something that I was not expecting, to get a lens that close that it was physically blocking the light if I got someone that close. So just make sure if you're planning on doing that, that you get your lighting and you do it purposefully and take into account just how close you can get with it, because it can be something that can surprise you. And really the third thing I think you do need to be aware of, these are beautiful cinema lenses, but you need to be aware of these are really designated as a macro function. Now, what that means is you can use these in a non-macro setup, but you just need to be aware the throw really is designated for that under like meter or so, and anything over that, it's going to be a little bit harder, and it's such a sensitive focus that if you have a scene that's non-dynamic, the actors aren't moving that much, and you have kind of moderate focus changes, you could probably get away with it. But anything that's dynamic with lots of movement and focus, I would not recommend this as in lieu of a traditional cinema lens. So anyway, guys, this is just a really cool tool that I was able to use, and I just wanted to share with you because, man, I think sometimes as filmmakers, we need this creative stimulation that unlocks us in ways that we don't traditionally get. I've gotten so used to normal type lenses that having these macro lenses, I just found really, really creative, stimulating, and a lot of fun. And these Gnosis lenses from DZOFILM, the consistency, the quality, and just the creative freedom that it unlocked really, really was fun and exciting, and got just kind of a refreshing breath to go there and try and find new ways to tackle subject matter. Anyway, guys, I'd love to hear what you have to say about this. Leave me notes and comments below, and yeah, go out there, keep on shooting. Yeah, I'll talk to you soon.